You've seen the videos, right? The insane stunts, the private islands, the giant piles of cash. But behind all that spectacle is one of the most brilliant business models on the planet. We're talking about a $5 billion empire. So in this explainer, we're not just going to look at the videos. No, we're going to deconstruct the entire system. The playbook that's literally rewriting the rules for creators, brands, and yeah, even fast food chains. Okay, just look at this for a second. Let it sink in. Back in December 2020, MrBeast Burger launched 300 locations in a single day. One day. Now, for perspective, it took McDonald's, the biggest fast food company in history, 6 years to open its first 300 spots.
So that brings us to the big question, the one we're going to answer today. How on earth is that even possible?
Okay, let's get into it. How do you create a massive burger chain overnight? Well, the secret wasn't just MrBeast's fame. It was a partnership with this really innovative company called Virtual Dining Concepts. And here's how their model works. Instead of building new restaurants from scratch, which takes forever and costs a fortune, they just tapped into thousands of existing restaurant kitchens all over the country. A lot of these places were really struggling during the pandemic with empty dining rooms. So VDC comes in, gives them all the ingredients, the MrBeast branding, and plugs them into the delivery apps. The restaurants just cook, pack, and hand off the food. And for that, they get to keep 30% of the profits. It's an absolutely brilliant win-win model that turned empty kitchens into a national brand, basically overnight.
But even a genius ghost kitchen model needs one thing to work: a tidal wave of instant demand. So where does that come from? Well, that brings us to the engine that powers this entire empire, what we're calling the content-to-commerce flywheel. It's all about turning attention into a very, very valuable asset.
On the surface, the flywheel seems pretty simple. Step 1, make these insane, can't-look-away videos. Step 2, that attention generates a ton of revenue from ads, merch, you name it. But step 3, and this is the part that changes everything, he reinvests almost every single dollar back into making the next video even bigger and crazier. That, of course, attracts an even larger audience, which makes more money, and you see where this is going. The cycle just keeps repeating, getting bigger and faster every single time. So, when we say he reinvests nearly everything, what does that actually mean? We're talking over 90%. That's right, 90% of the money he makes goes right back into the content.
And to put that into perspective, just look at this chart. The average creator might reinvest, 16% of their income? MrBeast is playing a totally different game. He treats his revenue like a venture capital fund, compounding his investment at a scale that nobody else can even touch. This isn't a YouTube channel anymore. It's a full-blown, high-growth media company. Now, let's see how this whole system applies to physical products with his snack brand, Feastables. This is where he absolutely masters the Gen Z playbook, because he's not just selling chocolate bars, he's selling an experience. I mean, the launch was just bonkers. Over 1 million bars sold in the first 72 hours. That's over $10 million in revenue in just 3 days. In its first year, it hit an estimated $100 million in sales. But the real secret here wasn't just slapping his face on a wrapper. He aligned the entire brand with his philanthropic identity, doing good, giving back, which is something that really, really resonates with Gen Z. And he does this with something called experiential marketing. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. Buying a Feastables bar isn't just a transaction, it's an entry ticket. You scan a QR code and suddenly you're in a sweepstakes, you're seeing exclusive content, you might even get a chance to be in a video. It totally transforms a simple product into an interactive event. You don't feel like a customer, you feel like you're part of the community. And that focus on community is so crucial. Let's compare it to another huge influencer brand, Prime Hydration. Prime had this massive, hype-fueled launch, but then it saw a pretty big sales drop in 2024. And why is that? Well, hype is temporary. It fades. A real, engaged community built around shared experiences, that's way more sustainable. So, the ghost kitchens, the reinvestment flywheel, the experiential marketing, it's all powered by one simple but incredibly powerful philosophy, and that is focus on the audience, not the algorithm. So when you strip everything else away, what's the one principle that really explains how all of this works? He apparently told YouTube's head of discovery this one simple thing. Anytime you use the word algorithm, just replace it with audience. Think about that. He's not trying to game a system or trick a machine. He is just obsessively, relentlessly focused on making things that people will absolutely love. And if you do that,
the algorithm will follow. It's just a tool that connects great stuff with the people who want to see it. Serve the audience first, and everything else falls into place.
But this playbook is always evolving. A guy like this is never standing still. So what comes next? Where is the empire heading now?
Well, first, we're talking global domination. He's dubbing his content into over 11 languages because he knows most of the world's eyeballs are outside the English-speaking bubble. Second, massive retail expansion. Feastables is going from online only to the shelves of huge stores like Walmart and Target, reaching a whole new audience. And third, he's becoming an investor himself, funding the next wave of creators and building the tools they need. It's a perfect feedback loop where his empire grows as the whole ecosystem gets bigger.
So all of this leaves us with one last big question. We've seen him disrupt entertainment, the restaurant industry, and consumer goods, so you have to wonder, is this the new blueprint for every modern brand?